Well, hello, that's me again. Today is March 16th, and we will make this topic today a little bit naval, so to speak. And there is a reason to talk about it because obviously many people look at the stream of the news. Most of them, if you are in the West, are fake news or some kind of spin, and they simply, sink and cannot really swim out of this whirlpool of this, well, let's put it straight as it is, bullshit, and they cannot recognize those fundamental changes which are happening as we speak, and they are colossal. And let's start, however, with this, about this Reaper thing. Message is clear, there is nothing to discuss. Today, Mr. Narishkin, the chief of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia, and Mr. Patrushev, the secretary of the Russia Security Council, they already stated the drone has been located. It's on the depth of about 890, 900 meters, and if need be, it will be lifted. But again, please, let's not overplay this thing about that, oh yeah, this is so advanced and that. Well, yes, certainly Russians would like to have their hands not so much on this drone as much on the pod which it carried, but other than that, it's just, regular drone. Russia produces drones like this, like Orion, so it's nothing super duper special. What it is, however, special is, of course, the fact that Russians told the United States openly, and they are speaking now all over the place, including the top level officials, including Mr. Putin himself. And they said that, yeah, United States is the party to the war, it's the direct participant, and so the appropriate conclusions have been made, and yeah, if now those things will start flying again in the same zone, they will be shut down. And probably the most funny, almost kindergarten thing was that, oh my god, they turned off transponder on this drone hoping to fool Russian air defense. I mean, for civilian people who don't understand what we're talking about, again, for real serious air defense and serious developed radar field, it makes no difference whatsoever if you have your transponder on or not. You will be seen, period. Simple as that. So, and that's about it, but let's start with obviously again, one of those things which people may not understand how significant it is, but as I already stated, when Russia left START treaty, she left it or paused it, if you wish, for a reason. And it is not only, of course, to punish the United States, it's also demonstration of Russia's dramatic advance and dramatic lead. In fact, I would say it's revolutionary lead in terms of strategic systems. And here it is. So obviously, to understand the whole ridiculousness of that, we go to no less than State Department. And look what those guys, and I am on record many times that American diplomacy and American foreign policy establishment are a joke. They are a joke in every single manifestation. And here it is. Here's what they say yesterday. Russia non-compliance with and invalid suspension of the New START treaty. So, okay, so it's invalid. Look at the statement. Russia claims suspension of the New START treaty is legally invalid. As a result, Russia remains bound by its obligation under the treaty. The United States remains ready to work constructively with Russia. The first question is, what you gonna do with it if it is legally invalid? I don't understand how stupid one has to be not to understand that it's like the husband and wife who are divorcing each other, and husband tells wife, I don't love you anymore, and I'm leaving. And she said, no, you have to love me. And she said, I don't. So here's my, suitcases. Bye-bye, honey. I rented out the other place. And these people in State Department, they don't understand that because they're not only stupid, they are stupid. Okay, we have to really admit this fact that a majority of the Western establishment is stupid, despite the fact being, of course, conniving and, crazy and other things. But it's the fact that they do not understand simple things. It's up to Russia, not up to the United States, to suspend it any way it wants. And Russia did suspend it because precisely because obviously the United States needs to be punished for its position or lack thereof around the world, and Russians just quit. And they say, if need be, we will resume it when time comes. And of course, when State Department says that they want to work constructively with Russia, it means only one thing. They will continue to lie, cheat, and try to undermine whatever Russia does. So there you go. That's your response. And it is like kindergarten, literally. You have the infantiles running practically every institution in the United States today. They literally don't know shit from shinola, and they are children, petulant children. Nothing more to add to this. But let's start, of course, with the other thing. And here we go to a little bit of the Navy slant, if you wish, or Navy naval, so to speak, angle. So Daily Mail suddenly, and of course we know it's okay, let's be clear, there are no normal media in the West left anymore, and especially British media, they are tabloids, all of them, including BBC, including Times of London. They are populated by people who I wouldn't, just basically be around in the mile, but hey. And here it is, Daily Mail suddenly begins to wonder, can Russia really wipe out Britain with a 1,000-foot high tsunami? Experts say Putin's Poseidon nuke could destroy a coastal city, cause radioactive floods, and kill millions in London. And they say that experts warn that if Putin launched Poseidon, London would be destroyed. Well, yeah, sure. And then they continue to describe what do they mean by that. That, you know what, here is this Poseidon, which is now, and they say, which is now officially in the frontline service with the first special submarine, which is Belgorod, which can carry 6 of those, and those things are very smart. They've been deposited anywhere underneath water, and they just basically lay down and wait for the signal. And here they say, if Russia launched the Poseidon from its doomsday submarine and the torpedo exploded in the Thames estuary, for instance, a tidal wave would erupt from the water surface and destroy London, experts say. Well, yeah, Poseidons definitely are designed like this, and we don't know how many of them have been deposited already. And but what obviously Daily Mail, being obviously a British tabloid, they continue to lie, and look what they do. They place this photograph, and look at this. What it says on this photograph. Footage shows military officials overseeing the test launch of Poseidon, which can supposedly be launched from a submarine. First, I tell you immediately, those military officials here are all cadre officers and NCOs, and the photo which you can see yourself has nothing to do with the Poseidon whatsoever. In fact, this photo has nothing to do with nuclear-powered submarines, namely the updated and modernized submarine of the Project 949A, updated and redesigned to carry those Poseidons because it is nuclear-powered submarine. What you see here is the central post of the Veliki Novgorod's SSK, which is diesel-electric submarine of the Black Sea Fleet. And those submarines, while still very dangerous and very advanced, they can carry caliber, both anti-shipping and land attack missiles. They are not capable to launch Poseidon, because they don't carry Poseidon. They're not designed to do this. But that doesn't prevent the Daily Mail from making shit up, as pretty much most Western politicians and journalists who are active today, they just invent shit. They get some photo, random photo from Russian Black Sea Fleet submarine and slap this scary thing, footage shows military official, So, reality, of course, is very simple. I will show you what is the difference between the central post of the SSK, the diesel-electric submarine, or, for example, one of the first Beret-class central posts. And as you can see yourself, and again, do not forget, what you see here, you see only part of the central post, because Russians are very sensitive about showing everything, including, for example, the location of the displays of the combat informational systems. And as you can see yourself, this is strategic missile submarine, but and this is the first Barrier class. And then, of course, you can see it here too. This is how it looks. As you can see yourself, you can see only about 1/3 of the central post, but these are how central post of the strategic missile submarine or Project 949A Oscars look like generally. They are much larger. They are pretty much all what it would be called glass cockpit, and they have been like this for many years now. So, but hey, it doesn't prevent those idiots from Daily Mail to show that, yeah, this is the diesel electric submarine, but it launches Poseidon. This is what they do. They lie all the time. And this is one of those small, so to speak, manifestations of that. But let's go further. Why it is naval, so to speak, today, and why I think it is worth talking about it. And here's the reason. Captain Hendricks, and I know who this guy is. I mean, he's a real American former naval officer. He served, and he was also on the staff of the Chief of Naval Operations. So, and I have my dear friend, who is also former captain. He was also in the CNO staff, but and he's one of the most smartest and dramatically educated man you can possibly have as a friend. His name is Byron King, and I'm really proud to be his friend. But here's the Mr. Hendricks, who is kind of similar with Byron's, but Byron was naval aviator. And he writes this article in April 2023, which is 2 days ago, actually 3 days ago, and he writes about the fact that the age of American naval dominance is over. And he writes about that the United States has ceded the oceans to its enemies. We can no longer take freedom of the seas for granted. And actually he is correct here, but the problem is he is correct for a very wrong reason. Because being American naval officer and being as many American naval officers a navalist, what is navalist? It's the person who really puts emphasis on the defining influence of the sea power. That means being Mahanian, from the Alfred Tyre Mahan, one of the greatest, actually the greatest American strategists that America ever produced, and of course the author of the Fundamental War on the Influence of the Sea Power on History. And he being Mahanian and talking about the sea control, the global sea control for the U.S. Navy, Mr. Hendricks basically complains about that, yeah, things change, we are having this issue and that issue in the U.S. Navy, and he obviously talks about the economic issue here, and look what he writes also. He speaks about openly that the United States is really not a global land power, which it is not, but here it is. He comes up with this conclusion: a sea power strategy pursued deliberately would put America back on course for global leadership. And immediately, while reading this again, the question is, what leadership? What do they even mean by leadership? America doesn't have leadership already for a long time, and leadership has a very specific features, properties which could be defined, and the United States is not in the position of leadership and hasn't been for a long time. But still, he writes about that he wants the American leadership globally. And I have only one answer to him, that America is not wound, it's not created anymore as a global leader. So he continues: we must shun entanglements in other nations' land wars, good, resisting the urge to solve every problem and seek instead to project influence from the sea. We must recreate an industrialized middle-class America that builds and exports manufactured goods that can be carried on the US-built ships to the global market. Well, here I actually kind of agree with him, except for one thing, and this is where we have to kind of concentrate properly on what is this all about, because being export-oriented economy puts you in an extremely vulnerable condition. But let me put it this way: out of all nations in the world, the only two nations which can be almost fully autarkic and be totally busy with developing of the internal market and prosper by doing this, obviously doing some export, is of course Russia, which actually achieved almost incredible independence from exports, and the United States. The United States has not all, but many good level, so to speak, mineral resources. It has energy, which it's produced sufficiently, and if it wanted to, it could have been pretty much the same as Russia, being totally independent from the fluctuations of the global trade market and not dependent completely on those choke points and shipping lanes of communications, as Mr. Hendricks suggests. United States used to be, guys, the industrial superpower. It was producing everything. But not anymore, because it was fully deindustrialized and financialized, and of course restoration of the United States back to its industrial glory at this stage is simply impossible. But shipping lanes of communications. So it is Mahanian view. It is also Elmo Zumwalt's view, who called the United States a world island, which it is, and its dependence on the shipping lanes of communications. And the United States is always afraid that somebody will go out and cut them. And of course, can Russia cut those shipping lanes of communications if it, push comes to shove? Oh, absolutely. And I showed this picture to you many times. I will show it you again. Look at this. This is just the basically basic scheme of the shipping lanes of communications being affected by 4 or 5 or 3 even Russian submarines armed with the Onyx and Zircon, and which will be able to wreak havoc in the northern Atlantic and even at the exits of from the main U.S. Navy naval bases such as Norfolk. As you can see yourself, if Russia needed to do that, obviously she can cut the shipping lanes of communications from the United States to Europe. But then again, United States doesn't have any more resources to ship in Europe in case of the serious war in Europe proper, especially Western Europe. But that just shows you what it is. Obviously, these are all done with the Onyxes and Zircons, which have been, as I already stated many times, counted for the radius or combat range of 800 kilometers. Zircon flies officially at 1500 kilometers, and the new calibers and new Zircons are coming. They will be even longer than that, and that means that generally speaking, Russian submarines can just shoot at things, going to the northern Europe without leaving their bases in the of the Kola Peninsula, and this is just like that. And Hendricks obviously talks about that we need ships, but he correctly states that the ships, just numbers of them, do not mean that much if you cannot deploy them, and that is correct. If you listen yesterday, a wonderful interview of Colonel McGregor to Judge Napolitano yesterday, you can easily find it. Douglas McGregor is absolutely correct when speaking about American economy and what is going on, when he stated, the question is, we have those ships, but very soon we can find ourselves in such a position that we will not be able to deploy most of them. He is talking about surface component. And he is absolutely correct, because American Navy is very expensive. And what is most important, American Navy is nearing obsolescence for a simple reason. Because most of the U.S. Navy, especially its surface component, have been conceived in Reagan times. It was conceived as the Cold War Navy, which was allegedly capable of the global sea control, and which it is not capable anymore. For starters, it cannot break A2AD, anti-access denial bubbles, so to speak, of Russia or China without sustaining horrendous, catastrophic losses. If you want to break one with the loss of 2 or 3 carrier battle groups, good luck with that. See what happens in the United States when the news of this will begin to pour in. But here's the other thing. United States continues to develop all those surface components. And again, make no mistake, I totally understand that you need surface component. But look at this. I already spoke about this for you, about this DDX, which is coming supposedly in 2030. And this is a very large ship with a lot of Mk-41 vertical launch systems. Allegedly, it can carry there some couple of lasers, you know, so. And it's all, you know, those bells and whistles with yet another iteration of the Aegis and yet another iteration of the SM-6, Standard Missile 6, which flies at the Mach 3.5, its latest Block 2, at 240 kilometers, and it's supposed to intercept I don't know what it's supposed to intercept. And to show you this, that United States continues to kind of pursue this thing with the same old weapon systems, trying to polish this cannonball, so to speak, thinking that it will get better. For example, if you look at the, currently one of them is being under construction, FFG Constellation. It's Fincantieri design. It's a beautiful boat, absolutely gorgeous. But look at this. It is same old Aegis, same old SM-6 Block 2, and the question is, and of course it is same old some naval strike missile, and you look at this and say, you know what, guys, how do you even supposed to fight against the modern Navy, which will see you several times longer range away and can shoot you without even basically you seeing them? And without understanding what you have been hit with. And how do you intercept hypersonic missiles? Or their, let's say, salvo of 8, for example, P-800 Onyx, or 8 3M54 calibers who accelerate to Mach 0.3 on the terminal? Nobody has this answer. They don't have anything in terms of the reliable air defense systems. They don't have anything in terms of the really modern strike anti-shipping missiles. And here we are. And they continue to produce or build around those ships, and that is fine. I mean, you need the surface component, make no mistake. I, for example, am surface SUWA guy, surface warfare guy, despite the fact that having my basically, well, fundamental specialization in the submarines. And when you look at this, you say, what's the, so to speak, the point of this? You continue to produce hulls which are carrying the obsolete, morally obsolete weapon systems. You need to have something like S-400, navalized version of S-400 at least, or S-350, to be able to really sustain the air defense against even the salvo of the subsonic anti-shipping missiles. How are you going to intercept hypersonic or numerous supersonic missiles, which are also maneuver at the terminal? I don't know. They still build it, and we know that it's probably also has a lot to do with the fact that many people make profit and make good living of this. But this is how they look at this issue. And this is to demonstrate to you also what many people do not understand still. For, again, as I'm giving you an example, and this is with the Naval slant, RT comes out today with the kind of large article about the West thought it would destroy Russia's economy with sanctions from hell. Here's why the plan failed. And then they begin to describe why the plan failed. And I can, you know, spare many pages of those articles and ideas of why the plan has failed in two fundamental features which I described many times on many occasions. First, they do not know what real economy is in Washington, or for that matter in EU. They don't. I mean, when you have people like, you know, Annalena Baerbock or Mr. Habeck or Mr. Biden or whoever runs economics, you know, they don't know what real economy is. They don't understand how it works. The only thing they know is how to move money from one account to another and manipulate, you know, with those manipulations with their hands with the finances. They don't understand what real economy is. And secondly, they don't understand what real war is and how it is fought and how it is being done and prepared for. And that is why they failed in, affecting Russia with those sanctions. And yeah, when you look even at the Mr. Sachs, who had his epiphany and he suddenly decided to become a good man and start talking against the neoliberal world order, Jeffrey Sachs, who he was in early 90s one of those Harvard boys, as they are known in Russia, who was helping to basically disassemble Russia and make it miserable. But he left one very important point, even then in 90s. He stated, we cut the patient, the corpse in the morgue, and we recognized that it had different anatomy. That's what I'm saying. He's correct here. Russian economic anatomy is completely different from neoliberal, financialized, so-called financial market-oriented and basically overvalued Western economies. Russian economy is a real one. That is why Russians actually survived 90s. Very few countries would survive that. Russians did, however, with huge losses. And then when you look at this and you begin to look and talk about what Mr. Hendricks wrote, and again, this is definitely worth the article to discuss. I disagree with half of it at least, But look at this. This is the Elling of the Sevmash, legendary Sevmash shipbuilding plant in the north, and you can see yourself, this is one of the yet another Beret A, Project 955A, serial submarine of this project being pulled out of the Elling, and the name of this new strategic missile submarine is the Emperor Alexander III. And it starts its trials, starting today pretty much. And look at this to show you, and I use the Wikipedia here because in this particular case what they placed there and they published there is actually correct. Look what they talk about. Look at the number of the submarines, strategic missile submarines, which are being built by Russia. You see that? Already 7 of them are actually afloat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are already under construction and planned. And so Russia will have 14 of them. And you have to understand that building something like the state-of-the-art strategic missile submarine, something like Beret A class, it's the technological and industrial feat which I cannot even emphasize enough what it requires. And look at the tempo of Russian building this, and I have been already on it, then building and updating nuclear-powered fast attack submarines component, and then looking at the massive production of the advanced diesel electric submarines. And that gives you basically a little bit of insight in the real size, immense size of the Russian economy. And that is why many Russian sources report a tremendous, and we are talking about massive growth in Russian machine building component. And yes, for those people who still think that Russia suffers from some kind of the lack of technologies, for example, in extraction, I have news for you guys. Russia produces pretty much everything she needs, from chemicals to the hardware. For example, for the shale gas and oil production. And yeah, a few years ago, many people in the West were saying, oh yeah, they don't have this technology. They totally depend on the West. Nope. Russia doesn't depend on the West on that. And so we can go basically pretty much across whole machine building industries, and you will see yourself there tremendous developments there. And speaking of which, and concluding with this kind of naval slant, while we're talking about, the fact that we have a completely new paradigm in terms of the naval warfare, and the fact that the United States cannot obtain, forget global, cannot obtain sometimes even local sea control, just to demonstrate to you that what they want to put in on those brand new surface ships. Again, as I stated, It is SM-6 Block 2, which is primarily, you know, an anti-shipping missile. Here it is. As the Missile Defense Agency stated a year and a half ago, then as you can see yourself, that the Missile Agency, in cooperation with the U.S. Navy, conducted flight test Aegis Weapon System 31, Event 1, on May 29, 2021. And look what it is. It was failure against no less than intermediate range ballistic missile. Ballistic missiles are easy to shoot down, and here it is. The objective of the test was to demonstrate the capability of a ballistic missile defense BMD configured Aegis ship to detect, track, and engage and intercept a medium-range ballistic missile target with a salvo of 2 standard Missile 6 Dual 2 BMD initialized missiles. However, an intercept was not achieved. This is the story of America's air defense and America's anti-ballistic missile defense. But then again, we live today, guys, in the paradigm of even intermediate ballistic missiles, all of which, for example, on the Russian side, they maneuver. And when you cannot intercept the straight flying, basically, fast, granted it's fast, very fast, intermediate range ballistic missile, you fail to intercept it time after time after time, then there's something wrong with the concept, guys, you know. But again, how they gonna intercept something like Kinjal, which maneuvers constantly? I don't know. They will not. And then, of course, we're talking about zircons and things of this nature, and you have the result. And that is what I wanted to tell you about, because it is very important. And as even as already stated yesterday, if you watch Judge Napolitano and Colonel McGregor's interview, or basically dialogue, if you wish, they speak openly about the fact that the tone of the U.S. media changed, and it should. Because actually much larger issue is at stake, not just Ukraine. It is the fact that, yeah, the United States lost this leadership, if you wish. And I don't think so it will be able to return it as it perceived it even 10 years ago. So this is what I wanted to tell you today. And as always, guys, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, support me, please, on my Patreon and the buy me tea or two, so, or coffee or two, if you wish. And this is pretty much it for today, guys. Have a nice rest of the week. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.